Brought to you by Charity Mobile. Switch to the phone company that supports your beliefs. All plans start under $50 before taxes and surcharges. Use promo code TRADITION at CharityMobile.com for a special offer. Archbishop Gänswein, amid some odd news coming out of the church in America, but Archbishop Gänswein, who you'll remember was the secretary for both Pope Francis and Pope Benedict XVI at the same time. He was their secretary. Before that, it was just for Benedict XVI during his papacy. He spent several years essentially sidelined by Pope Francis with no job at all. I don't even know how he paid his rent, to be honest with you. He had no job whatsoever for several years. Until towards the end of Francis's papacy, he made Archbishop Gänswein a bishop somewhere. He actually gave him a diocese to be the ordinary of. Archbishop Gänswein, as having been their personal secretary, is very well connected in Rome, you might say. And he told Die Tagespost, which is a major German outlet, who paywalls everything, and the one time I tried to sign up for it, what I ended up getting was a German-language physical copy of a newspaper mailed to me, so that didn't work. Here's what he had to say, according to Michael Haynes, LifeSite News reporter. Just in, Archbishop Gänswein on Pope Leo's possible Latin Mass changes. The painful wounds within the Church that Traditionis Custodes has inflicted with regard to the celebration of the traditional Roman rite need urgent healing. After years of restrictions, the proposed papal initiative offers a unique opportunity to bring supporters and critics of the traditional Roman liturgy together and engage in dialogue, offers a unique opportunity to break down enemy stereotypes and overcome mutual rejections. So in other words, he's making the case that the TLM, this whole issue that the Pope will have the opportunity to address, is itself an opportunity to foster unity in the Church. We shall see. I'm not willing to stop my critiques of things in the hope of getting the Latin Mass back for people when souls are on the line, souls being led astray by synodality and all sorts of weird things. But it's interesting. And you're seeing a large number of bishops speaking out, large numbers of cardinals speaking out about this, to the point where Pope Leo in the next year or two may actually be moved to do something. I'm skeptical that he'll give them the Latin Mass back, no matter how nice and silent and how much zipping it goes on among people, but we shall see. But that's happening while we get weird news out of the United States. And I say really weird because there is a mania in the Church today. It's like an affliction of the mind, and that is ecumenical dialogue. It's this idea that we go beyond talking to members of other religions, Protestants, or people who reject Christ entirely, with an eye towards them coming to know Jesus and coming into the Church. That is correct ecumenical dialogue. There's nothing wrong with that. The incorrect ecumenical dialogue is where we start to go, well, it doesn't really matter that much. Jesus may have founded the Catholic Church on the rock of Peter, and he may have made it sound like if you don't listen to the bishops of the Church, you don't know Jesus, but Jesus is nice. We'll let the niceness, permeate our understanding of things, and it'll make it so that we can say that Jesus is the privileged path to God and all this other stuff. Ecumenical dialogue. It's where you sacrifice the truth for the esteem of the world and for friendship with the world and for peace and hugs and kumbaya. And I cannot think of a more evil example of this than something that's happening right now. Headline from Zenit. USA, the National Catholic and Ottoman or Saracen dialogue, journeying together. There is no journeying together outside of Christ. They reduce him to a prophet. He is a prophet to them. He is not the Messiah. No one comes to the Father except through Jesus. Full stop. These are people who are, maybe not this particular group in particular, but broadly speaking, who one day believe that they will conquer Rome. Okay? Turn it into a giant temple of theirs. Turn St. Peter's into a giant temple of theirs. They're very open about this. These are people who oppress Christians every chance they get. Look at their history. And this dialogue stuff has to stop. It really does. maybe dialogue on working together on combating some social issues in countries they live in together, like in the US. But beyond that, dialogue for what? For theology? Jesus is not the privileged path. He is the path, full stop. The National Catholic Redacted Dialogue met on September 8th to 9th to continue its multi-year study entitled Journeying Together. The dialogue is staffed by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Secretary for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs. This year's session featured presentations by Sister Marianne Farina and Dr. Anas Malik on the ecological crisis, there it is, in conjunction with the 10th anniversary of Pope Francis's encyclical letter on ecology, Laudato Si, and the publication of Al-Mizan, the foremost redacted statement on the environment. This organization hosted an event at the Catholic University of America with keynotes by the Most Reverend John Stowe, of course, Bishop of Lexington, and their teacher, Safet Katovic, current redacted chaplain at Drew University and member of the international writing team for that publication. Reflecting on the purpose and importance of the organization, Catholic co-chairman, Most Reverend Elias Lorenzo, Auxiliary Bishop of Newark, so in the orbit of Stowe and the McCarrick crew, stated, "The NCMD strives to foster greater understanding, mutual esteem, lasting friendship, and cooperation for the promotion of greater solidarity with the human family. We pursue these goals through collaborative study, the production of educational materials, and the coordination of public events to raise awareness and provide opportunities for mutual engagement." Similarly, echoing the need for continued engagement to uphold solidarity, the redacted co-chairman of the MCPD, the teacher, Kareem Irfan, stated, "We convened our 2025 meeting in our nation's capital with a sense of urgent concerns, not just for the environmental crisis confronting the world and the distressing realities in the Holy Land, but also given the polarized viewpoints and lines of division fracturing our nature. The work of this group will continue its work of interfaith study, reflection, and the production of resources on ecology and the environment, as well as several new topics, including the relationship between truth and artificial intelligence, faith in a secular culture, and spiritual communion between Catholics and the Ottomans," and mostly quote. And there it is. Ecology. Another social issue that puts the gospel on the back seat. Jesus incarnated of a virgin. He walked the earth doing miracles. He went to the cross, shed his blood, and died on the cross. And he resurrected. And he did so that people will know him and come to know God. When he said it is finished on the cross, it meant it was finished, opening the door to salvation if you would simply cooperate the graces God offers to you freely. And this is a spitting in the eye of all of that. They put the materialist false gospel in front of everything important. Everything. Whether it's migration, whether it's the environment, whatever. They put everything in front of the gospel because those issues to them are more important than the salvation of souls. There are 1.4 billion Catholics in the world, and according to most of the doctors and saints throughout history, most Catholics won't even be saved, let alone anybody outside of the Catholic Church. It would be really, really nice if the bishops cared enough about our eternal destinies to teach the truth. And if they cared enough about those, who that I call the Ottomans, if they cared about them enough to teach them the truth, to do it in peace, but to take the actual spirit of St. Francis of Assisi, who thought he was going to earn the red crown of the martyrs by going and talking to one of their political leaders and teaching him the gospel to his face. And their political leader could have struck him down on the spot, but instead he spared him his life and sent him back. We don't know what happened to that political leader. He didn't accept the gospel at that moment. Maybe he did later. We don't know. But that is St. Francis of Assisi, who preached the gospel at all times with words. There's a saying they attribute to St. Francis of Assisi. I find it offensive, actually, because he never said it. But it was, preach the gospel at all times, use words when necessary. I find it offensive because St. Francis of Assisi is my confirmation saint. St. Francis of Assisi always used words. He was a preacher. That should be the guidestone, not this ecumenical stuff. Not this, let's go talk about making a better world. If you want to make a better world, you teach your neighbor the gospel. You work for the spread of the gospel to bring souls to Christ. That is how you make a better world. Everything is downstream from Jesus Christ. Everything. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, please. Hey, like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. Sharing this on social media helps too. And folks, if you've ever thought about supporting the work we do here at Return to Tradition, the subscribe plus button is that old join button. In the description box below, you'll find, Patreon and Subscribestar and all those kinds of things. All of those options asked for by viewers of this channel. They do help keep these daily messages coming. Please pray for the church and everybody we spoke about today, especially anybody we spoke about in a negative way. Not trying to make you mad at them. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.